Welcome to another edition of Swim Easy Speed. So today we're going to do a little just update. I got Jocelyn in the pool again the other day, and just to kind of follow up on the first video that we did and put out last week of her. And what I'm going to do is kind of compare and contrast where she was last week versus where she was when she started yesterday morning versus where she was when we finished yesterday morning. And you'll get to see kind of the progression. And this is where it's not just about taking one session or one lesson. It's about doing multiple in a row to really have these breakthroughs, which is what she had the other day. She really kind of it all started to click for her. And, that only comes about by, getting the feel for that body position, then replicating it in practice over and over and over again so that you don't have to think about it anymore. And then we can get you to the next piece of the puzzle. But it just takes time to build that repetition, to build kind of that neuromuscular memory and that skill. And it's not just about, hey, I'm going to totally break down your stroke here and show you everything that's wrong with it. You can't do it that way. You've got to take it one piece at a time and just go to practice and just relentlessly focus on that one piece that you want to change until it changes, until it's, part of that neuromuscular memory where you don't have to think about it as much. It just kind of happens automatically. And so, we'll get a good look at kind of the progression that she went through with that. And so I'll just start the video. The first video that you're going to see is the first video that we took when she got in the endless pool last week. And then the next one is going to be the final of where we ended up yesterday. So here you can see, the one thing that she's been struggling with since she broke her wrist is you can see how she turns that hand over. And she's really reluctant to put a lot of pressure, and we'll see kind of in the video from the side underwater, how reluctant she is. And then, we can see just basically that line in the water, angled a little bit down. And, that's kind of some of the stuff that we want to try to overcome. And, you can see that she's swimming, but it doesn't look like everything's really connected, like she's using her whole body to pull through the water. Okay? She's got a nice stroke and is moving well, but she's not exactly using her whole body to pull through the water. So here's where we ended up. The next video is where we ended up at the end of yesterday. So here you can see, she's finishing with a lot more force. That right hand is starting to kind of really roll over more, where the hand is entering a little bit flat, maybe angled towards the, here we'll black it up, where it's angled towards kind of being almost flat on the water when it enters. Not totally flat. You don't want it totally flat. You want to enter in kind of like angled towards your thumb. And then you can see her feet have come up and her hips have come up. So here's where we started yesterday morning. And you can see it's a little bit better than it was the previous one, where, she's got a much better line on the water. And this is kind of one of the things that we've been working on practice this week, just to get that core to engage more and doing everything that we can to keep on cueing that in practice. And then getting to really think about it. So, here's underwater, kind of what she's doing pretty well. The one thing we did notice was on this right side, she's dropping that elbow right there. And then at the start of this session, she was still entering in. So you can see kind of how steep that angle is with how she's entering in with that hand. And then as we go back, you can see how she pulls out right there versus the left, where this looks great. She's really getting a big, huge pull on the water, and that's where her hips really kind of surge on the water. They come up because she's generating a lot more speed. And, the one thing you always want to think about is here is kind of what the swim stroke looks like if you were to put it on a velocity meter. So this would be right, that would be left. So as you pull through the stroke, right there, so we're going to say we're here, that's this acceleration right here. So that's where her hips are coming up. So then when we're finishing back here is where we're starting to kind of come down on that downside. And then as we go up on this right side pull, so right through there is where we're accelerating and then starting to kind of drift back down again. Now, the most costly part of the swim stroke or swimming is right here. So it's where you're accelerating against drag. And so what we want to do is, oops, I shouldn't erase that. So there's right, there's left. What we don't want to do is we want to put a floor on how much we decelerate. And, that can happen in a bunch of different ways. But, definitely cleaning up the stroke where we're not kind of creating any instability, where we have to kind of splay the legs apart or do a scissor kick, where we keep the body a lot more compact, minimize the amount of drag that we're creating, making sure that we're getting the most out of the pull. So those are all the things that we want to think about. And, our head position looks pretty good. I think we talked about actually in this session where we wanted maybe not looking totally straight down, but just a little bit forward, just so that chin comes up a little bit. And then you get to see kind of here's the back here. And body position looks a lot better than it did kind of the other day. And then here was the first thing we did. So we used those Finis forearm fulcrums. I don't really use these that often. I used it with a high school kid that I was working with. It was probably the last time I used him. And he had broken his wrist a while back and had kind of a bit of an odd kind of movement pattern. So we were trying to change it a little bit. But yeah, you can see her. We went through a couple rounds of this, but of working with these, and you can see, still wanting to drop that elbow a little bit, but it's definitely getting better as she pulls through there and is really starting to think about that right a little bit more. So we're really getting, and you can see kind of it's a lot more consistent where her hips are staying up on the water. Then what we did was, the second thing we did was use the Aquavolo drag sleeves. And what I was trying to do was make it where she had to engage the core. And we put a lot of pressure on the core to swim. And so we went through a few rounds of this where she was starting to get really tired from how much she was having to engage the core. And remember, the core is what's providing all of the stability in the water. So what's creating the stability in this very dynamic, unstable environment, the water, is your core, which is what allows you to efficiently transfer that pull into forward momentum. And so it also kind of creates this, really kind of long, rigid body to work off of. And the one thing you want to think about is when you're in the water, you're like the bike and the rider. So you've got to think about, how stiff is the bike? So, if you had kind of like a bike made out of, rubber, it'd be tough to get any real forward, get kind of that pedal that you're pedaling to kind of really go forward just because or forward efficiently. So you really want that kind of really stiff, long kind of frame in the water that allows you to lever it and get the most out of the pull that you're generating. So, and then we did this, and I really kind of cued her to engage the core more, and then also to, really try to initiate that pull from the core and not from her shoulders. So then here's where we get to at the end. So, this is, big improvement for her. I think we were about 10, 12 seconds, 100 faster here than when she started the pace. And, she felt great. She was really, really excited to get back in the pool and try all this out. So that's always a great sign. You gotta love what you're doing, and be really, really focused on it to make any changes and to make improvements. If you hate swimming, if you dread it, yeah, it's going to be tough to make improvements. So, as always, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. And please like, share, comment, subscribe down below. And if you have any questions, I'm always happy to answer questions.